I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly.
A cushy new prison for Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice.
I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her.
Tonight, the Trump administration's quiet upgrade for Ghislaine Maxwell and the angry reaction from Maxwell and Epstein victims. Then,
why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong.
a banana republic response to a terrible jobs report.
Donald Trump decided he didn't like that message, so he went out and shot the messenger.
Tonight, Senator Bernie Sanders on Trump's alarming move and the flashing sirens for the economy, and Trump's plan to maintain power by redrawing the maps.
So are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
I'll ask Governor Kathy Hochul if Democrats in New York plan to fight back when All In starts right now. Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Jeffrey Epstein has one known living accomplice, convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. She has been at the center of the firestorm of scandal surrounding President Trump the last several weeks. She has suddenly been moved from the federal prison in Florida, where she was serving her 20-year sentence for her prominent role in the recruiting and trafficking of young girls to be sexually abused by Epstein and herself, to new, upgraded accommodations in a minimum security prison facility in Bryan, Texas. The move, which the administration so far expects you to believe is routine, comes after a week of pardon talk, after 2 extended day-long private meetings between Maxwell and the number 2 at DOJ, the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, who, oh, by the way, also happened to be Donald Trump's personal criminal defense attorney. We don't know what was discussed in those private meetings. We do know taking the meetings was highly abnormal. We do know that whenever Trump is asked about a potential pardon for Maxwell, he said over and over again that he's allowed to pardon whoever he wants. And we do know in the first 6 months of his administration, he has pardoned whoever he wants. And so now, in what is a shocking and frankly appalling scene reminiscent of Jeffrey Epstein's original sweetheart deal, the origin of this entire scandal, the one that allowed him to freely head home from prison for 6 hours at times, 6 days a week, Maxwell's new prison is a minimum security federal prison camp. These facilities feature less prison staff, limited or no fencing, along with much more freedom of movement and recreational options than any other level of federal prison. Not only do these facilities usually house nonviolent and white-collar criminals, listen to this. NBC News is reporting that Maxwell was ineligible to be transferred to this kind of facility, to a minimum security prison camp, because she is a convicted sex offender. And that's according to the Bureau of Prisons' own designation policy. The BOP had to reach in and waive the rule specifically for Maxwell to allow a sex trafficker, a sexual abuser of girls, to be moved to her current facility. In fact, among Maxwell's new fellow detainees is Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes, serving an 11-year sentence for wire fraud and conspiracy, and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Jen Shah, serving her own 6-year sentence for wire fraud. Shah runs a fitness class in the prison called Shahmazing Abs, just one of the many activities that Jeffrey Epstein's closest confidant and fellow abuser can now enjoy. Yesterday, the family of Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein and Maxwell's most high-profile and vocal survivors, a woman who took her own life this year, spoke out very specifically about the woman who just got a sweet, sweet upgrade from Donald Trump's Bureau of Prisons.
Our sister always told us that Maxwell was even worse than Epstein. We said it in the statement that she was a monster. But this is a woman who used her womanhood to prey on young girls, vulnerable young girls. And she wasn't a light participant. She's convicted of these crimes. And the thought of offering her leniency or a complete pardon, it makes us feel sick.
Today, the White House said there was no special leniency, saying any false assertion this individual is given preferential treatment is absurd Prisoners are routinely moved in some instances due to significant safety and danger concerns. That's not how Epstein's victims and their families see it. Today, Giuffre's family, along with 2 other survivors of Epstein's abuse, released a statement saying, President Trump has sent a clear message today. Pedophiles deserve preferential treatment and their victims do not matter. Ghislaine Maxwell is a sexual predator who physically assaulted minor children on multiple occasions, and she should never be shown any leniency. Yet without any notifications to the Maxwell victims, the government overnight has moved Maxwell to a minimum security luxury prison in Texas. This is the justice system failing victims right before our eyes. 20 more victims of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse released a statement through their lawyer saying, the victims of the Epstein-Maxwell conspiracy continue to endure the emotional pain of every development in the negotiations with Ghislaine Maxwell. They wait anxiously and expect to be afforded full access to all relevant information concerning the criminal conduct that has so severely damaged them. Then, once properly informed, they look forward to having their voices be heard with respect to any action concerning Ms. Maxwell that might be contemplated. Attorney Spencer Kuvin represented 9 victims of Jeffrey Epstein, the youngest of whom was just 14 years old. Mr. Kuvin, I had you on the program, I think last week when there was discussions of the pardon. There was the highly abnormal and, to my mind, strange and possibly suspicious meeting of Todd Blanche, the president's criminal defense attorney, now number 2 at DOJ, with Maxwell. What is your reaction to this news about the upgrade in the facility that Maxwell has attained?
Thank you for having me on, Chris. You know, it's disgusting, to say the least, obviously, on behalf of the victims. To be able to give this woman some kind of preferential treatment is just atrocious. But don't kid yourself. This deal was struck before she was ever interviewed. You know, I've interviewed, in fact, just the other day, I had a deposition of a sex trafficker here in West Palm Beach, and they're not required to speak with anyone. Once they're in jail, they can decline an interview. So I have no doubt that her criminal defense attorney probably negotiated this deal as a part and parcel of her interview. In other words, she wouldn't agree to be interviewed unless there was some deal on the table that would give her this preferential treatment. That's why she got it. And then once she spoke and talked to them, then they gave her the preferential transfer to this cushy facility.
That's interesting. I mean, I just want to say, I don't know that. We don't know that for a fact. That seems like informed speculation. It also seems to me, you know, Todd Blanche and David Marcus, the 2 lawyers here, right? Mr. Blanche, who interviewed Ms. Maxwell, and Mr. Marcus, who represents her, like, they seem to be buddies. We've got them on a podcast together, laughing together. Like, there is a relationship pre-existing here that seems to have redounded quite clearly to the benefit of Mr. Marcus's client.
Clearly. I mean, clearly. What happened is that, you know, Miss Maxwell is a serial predator and a convicted liar. So she's going to do whatever she can to get whatever preferential treatment she can. It's unfortunate, but we really can't trust anything that the woman says at this point because she's a convicted felon and a sex trafficker. So, you know, look, on behalf of all of the victims that I've represented, none of them want to see this woman get out. And certainly they don't want to see her get any kind of preferential treatment like this to a cushy facility.
Yeah, I just want to read for you the Bureau of Prisons public safety factor classifications. These are all public. And again, this is not, and I want to be clear here, like, prison can be a brutal thing for anyone, whatever crime they've done. And there are reasons that people move between different facilities. So I don't want to sort of make a generalized point here. But here's what BOP says. Code F sex offender, male or female inmate whose behavior in the current term of confinement or prior history includes one or more of the following elements will be housed in at least a low security level institution. That's more security than where she's been transferred. Unless the public safety factor has been waived. Again, engaging in sexual contact with another person without obtaining permission to do so, forcible rape, sexual assault, sexual battery, any sexual contact with a minor or other person physically or mentally incapable of granting consent. I mean, this is an individual, Ghislaine Maxwell, who falls squarely in this and who apparently received, like you said, a waiver from someone at BOP that said you can break the rules for this woman.
Right. And you've got to wonder why, right? Why would they give a waiver to this particular woman that clearly, as you point out, doesn't fall within the classification for a waiver. They waived these classifications for her because they got something in return. We just don't know what that is at this point. Maybe it was the fact that she was willing to talk to them. Maybe she gave them information and they said we would waive it if we got information. At this point, the public doesn't know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As we've always said on behalf of the victims, release the information. The president has the ability to sign an executive order tomorrow releasing all of the information the DOJ has on this woman and Epstein. Do it. Do it now. Protect the names of the victims and release everything else.
Here is what's so wild to me, covering this story, and you who've lived through it, and one of the reasons I want to speak to you is that the origin of this as a scandal, and not just an individual or several individuals engaging in really bad acts, is the fact that it was the Department of Justice and U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, when Jeffrey Epstein was apprehended, and many girls and women came forward to say this man is a predator, systematic predator, cut a sweetheart deal for reasons we still don't know to this day to give him specialized treatment. That is the whole reason that we have a Jeffrey Epstein scandal and not just a guy who got nabbed for horrible acts and then did prison the rest of his life. And here we are in 2025. Absolutely. And it looks like they're running the same play. They're doing the same thing again.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's truly unbelievable. You know, I've told this story before, but when I was representing the victims, even back then, they never called to let us know that that plea deal was going through.
Right.
I had to get a secret call from an FBI agent, put on a suit and jacket, and run to the courthouse, literally running into Epstein, walking through the metal detector, and then going up to court and realizing what they were cutting the deal for. And then the court wouldn't even release that deal to the victims. We had to file motions with the court just to get it released. And like you said, Chris, they're doing it again. This is just unbelievable. And the public really needs to speak up about something like this.
I'll close here by reading more of the Giuffre family statement. The American public should be enraged by the preferential treatment being given to a pedophile and a criminally charged sex offender. The Trump administration should not credit a word Maxwell says, as the government itself sought charges against Maxwell for being a serial liar. This move smacks of a cover-up, and the victims deserve better. We're going to stay on this story. And Spencer Kubin, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again.
Coming up, Donald Trump gets bad news about the American economy and responds.
Longest article in the Constitution for the reason.
Trump just lose everything. Trump just lose everything. Where the America decide to growing up every day, and Trump's make this too much difficult for the living people and the persons who living the society. So Trump is too much dangerous for an American living life, and American people now think they move on Trump and they select again the Biden decision. So what do you think about what's going on in America? If they are happening something secret, or is there doing something different move Trump for making America great again? America is the city of joy and the light of the life. So what do you think about if Trump do America better again, or the America goes to hell again? What is your opinion? Comment us below. And if you like our video, if you like our channel, and if you like our efforts for our audience, then make sure to subscribe our YouTube channel and stay connected with us for the next update. And now goodbye, and see you on next or another video. Goodbye, see you again.
Donald Trump had a pep rally at the Department of Justice a couple months ago.
It's telling what the Democrats need to do is stand up.